May 17th, the Creswell School Board Budget Committee meeting. And then it does look like we have a quorum. And we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. And we haven't done this in the Zoom for a while, and it's really super fun. So everybody, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. See, oh, wait, see, I can't even do it on Zoom.
Justice for all.
Justice for all. I'm watching you all and I messed up. Okay. Anyway, so then we are going to approve our agenda for tonight.
I move we approve tonight's
motion?
agenda. Yeah, I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
I second.
Perfect. All right. All in favor? All right. All right. This is quickly moving along. Okay. We need to elect a budget committee chair. Anybody interested in being the chair? Lon?
I'm happy to do it. I did it once before. Or
Debbie,
Yeah.
Debbie, excuse me. Someone
Yeah.
needs to nominate him, and then there needs to be a second.
Okay. Does anybody want to nominate someone?
I'll nominate Lon Robertson to be chair.
I'll second.
Perfect. All in favor? I'm assuming that's the way this goes. All right. So then also we need to elect a budget committee vice chair.
I nominate Chrissy Witham for vice chair.
Perfect. I'll second that. Oh, can I second it as the chair?
I'll second that.
Thank you. You second that. I can't second that. All right. All in favor? All right. Okay. Now it's your show, Lon.
okay, great.
I'm so happy.
I do have one question before we get going. I thought I read in the public announcement that if people had statements or questions to raise to this committee, that they could submit them in writing and they would be presented. I presume, I think I just read that. And if that's true, I just didn't see a spot on here for that, but I'll assume that there's been no input from the public.
Lon, that is correct. You had no written comments from the email address that we publish out for them to send that to.
Okay, thanks, Joel, because it was stated that it should be in writing as well. So thank you. Okay, well, I think we'll just go right on to new business then with the presentation of the budget message. If you're ready, Michael.
I am ready. Thank you, Lon. Okay, the Creswell School District budget message is intended to provide a summary of the proposed budget and how this budget differs from the prior year. In developing this budget, our focus continues to be on the district's mission. Creswell School District educates students to be lifelong learners and responsible citizens. As of the time of the publication of this document, we face challenges at the local, national, and global levels. Economic factors are more uncertain and complex than in previous years, dating back to the recession in 2008. Oregon's next economic forecast isn't due until late May 2023. Therefore, this budget is built on the official estimate issued by the Oregon Department of Education on February 22nd, 2023. The 2023-25 biennial budget and state school fund are predicated on a $9.9 billion state appropriation and a 49-51 split. This amount has not yet been amended by the legislature as of the date of this document. At this time, the State Ways and Means Committee is reviewing the state budget appropriations and state school funding. The appropriation may increase. However, we have no way of determining if that will happen or what the amount may be at this time. It is anticipated that income tax and property collections will be slightly higher than last year. However, we anticipate a slight enrollment decrease in the Creswell School District, which will decrease the amount of state school funding that we will receive. The district staff budget that allows the district to continue current service levels to students and to move forward with our implementation of the improvement plan that was developed by the Creswell community through the strategic planning process in 2022 to address of all Creswell School District students. See addendum. In addition, we are estimating grant funding to support our improvements initiatives from the SIA Student Investment Account, High School Success, and ESSER relief funding. Regardless of the many challenges we face, we are committed to developing a budget that will best serve the students of our community to withstand any federal shortfall or any funding shortfall and planning for the future of the district. We have adjusted licensed schools and grade levels where we anticipate lower student enrollment numbers, and we have set our ending fund balance at 7%. It is imperative that we maintain our current level of service and invest in much needed interventions and supports to overcome the learning loss created by the pandemic. Therefore, the 2023-24 proposed budget for the general fund is a roll forward service level budget utilizing additional grant funding to maintain current level of services.
Does anybody have any questions on the budget message presented so far? Michael, I do have one, and it's not a hard, fast question really, but what are the tea leaves as far as going up to a 10.3 budget? Do your folks have any thoughts on that, or do they feel like this is going to be pretty much it?
Well, we were anticipating that there was going to be a slight increase in taxes, and especially from the corporate tax.
Oh,
And but with the competing interests for the budget from the state for the state budget funds, and where the governor will prioritize any remaining funds is really uncertain. Nobody can really put a finger on that, because she's got such her goals are so wide, and the funding is not there to fully fund the goals that she's put on her agenda. So in looking where she's going and where public education needs to go, we're really not sure. She didn't indicate that that's where she would go if the property taxes and corporate tax came in higher.
Okay.
10.3, we not too optimistic about that. Could it
Okay.
slightly go up? It could, but
Okay. Yeah, I understand we can't count on it. Just was curious. Thank you very much. And executive summary kind of went through that, right?
so in my budget message, I referenced the continuous improvement plan and the addendum attached. And this is the continuous improvement plan for the district. And this is where we will be focusing our funding. We're targeting these initiatives and strategies to make significant improvements across the district. When we look at all the headings across the top there, state-of-the-art facilities is not something that we're addressing when we get to the summary of this document. In the next page, you can see a summary of that document of the continuous improvement plan and where we will be targeting our funding from our general fund to increase student improvement and achievement. So here's where we've been on the far left, and one-time purchases that we've completed there, and where we're moving to the right for the major initiatives in this next budget. Any questions on the previous document or this summary of that document? Anyone?
I was really impressed and pleased that you had both of those in there, Mike. Those are documents that are certainly think are of interest to the public. So I think those of us that aren't on the board, those are great things to keep our hands on and close by, because those kind of questions do come up. So thank you for including those.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, at this time, I'll hand the steering wheel over to Chanel.
Thank you, Mike. So for those of you who have been around the last year or two when I've given the presentation, the next slides to come are kind of a summary of our 175-page budget book. I've just found it most efficient to kind of summarize things so that you guys don't have to read page for page, but of course you are welcome to. And if you already have and you have questions, please shoot them out to me as we go through. But I'm going to start with kind of the summary of our revenue. So the bulk of our general fund comes from our local sources, state school fund and our beginning fund balance. As you can see there, that's the percentage breakdown of each category. How we get there, the state they give us this rundown here of these numbers. So you can see there, that's our estimated property taxes that we're to collect, along with our common school fund, the county school fund. So that total there is the 4,195,000. And so of the general fund revenue, 24% is from local. Whereas when we get into the state school fund, that's in about 60% of our general fund. And how we get to the state school fund is this fun little formula here. You can see that 22-23 numbers and 23-24 numbers are compared. Everyone that has a star is where we have a slight increase. So we start with our ADMR, which is our count of students, and we're estimating we're going to be about 1140 this next year. So just a slight increase from last year. But then students in our ESL programs, students on IEPs, and students in poverty, they give us weights based on our amount of students in those programs. And those 3 programs, we have a slight increase as well. So this bottom number here, the 23-24 ADMW, is slightly higher than last year and puts us at this 1362. And so if you look at how the formula keeps flowing, they take the highest of last year or this year's ADMW, and for us it's going to be our estimated 23-24 of 1362. And they do all these fun formulas with teacher experience and the funding ratio, and they come up with that total number. They add in our transportation grant, because our transportation is reimbursed at a 70-30. And so we turn in numbers at the end of each year, which go into our next funding year. So at the 846,000 for transportation grant, that puts us at that final number of 14.1 million. But they do take out our estimated local revenue, and that brings us down to the 9.9. So that is what we have built our general fund budget off of, which is kind of funny because it's 9.9 billion and we're getting 9.9 million. And it also breaks down there the rate per student at the 10,368. Any questions so far? Okay, so jumping over into expenses. As y'all probably know, we're about 73% of our general fund budget goes to salaries and benefits. A summary of things to note. So decreases, increases. In 21-22, we adopted ELA curriculum. And then this year we've adopted K-8 math. So for 23-24, that leaves us high school math and science for curriculum adoption. So we have decreased the textbook account a little bit. Also, our supply accounts are 410s across all functions. We took a 25% cut to those in 21-22 because of the decline in enrollment, and we've kept that status quo, and we're going to continue that into 23-24. I analyzed the spending from this year, and it wasn't justifiable to increase anywhere. So those are staying same level as the last 2 years. And then our contingency balance, we did decrease, last year, it was at 8, and this year we're going with 7. We just couldn't quite squeeze in the 8 with the shortfall that we have, so. Increases, some of the obvious ones, salary steps and fringe benefits, along with COLAs, the district's contribution cap to health insurance. So really the only one outside of salaries, we raised like the water, sewage, garbage, telephone, insurance bills to account for some of the increases that we knew were coming. Another thing I wanted to point out in the change, because there's of course, gosh, maybe 80 pages total of line items. And if you want to go through and look at them all by accounts from 100s to 200s for salaries and benefits, you are welcome to compare those, but I kind of just did a summary of all of them together. And so in the general fund, our salaries and associated payroll costs, they're set to increase an average about 6% across all employee groups. And as you probably know, that's all set in negotiations, which we had all 4 groups last spring of 22. With that average of 6% increase, we would need to increase the budgeted salaries, payroll costs, and insurance cap in the general fund by about $800,000. However, if you had looked at the total revenue and compared side by side what we had, that was not doable. So we had $850,000 less in our beginning fund balance. We went from 2.8 million to 2 million even. And we only got a $400,000 increase due to the formula that we just went through. So that obviously does not account for rolling up our service levels currently of payroll cost. So for the 23-24 budget though, we are able to absorb the shortfall with our ESSER funding. The one thing I want to point out is this is the last year, 23-24, of ESSER funding. So we will not have that in 24-25 to help us absorb this shortfall, which will be compounded in 24-25. Any questions on that part?
This is Sarah Klein. Could you remind me of what the ESSER funding is?
Yeah, it's the pandemic relief funding
Okay.
we got from the federal government.
Okay.
They gave us like,
Perfect.
they broke it into 3 different allotments. We call them ESSER 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So ESSER 3 happened to be the largest one and had the furthest out expiration date, which is June of 24.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's somewhere around 2 million or plus or minus.
Yeah, we got 2.6 million in
Wow.
ESSER $3, and we have tried to be conservative and keep us afloat as long as we can. And so we have about 2.2 million going into 23-24.
I see. This might be a good time for me to ask a question that I think is coming up, but when looking over those numbers of expenditures, one thing people might notice is a huge decrease, a 40% decrease in the elementary education license salary expenditure, and that was moved over to the ESSER. There's a separate section of ESSER budget or whatever you would call it. Is that correct?
You are correct.
I couldn't figure out what happened there, so it's like I had to
Yeah,
get
that one I
all
think-
the way to the end to find out.
Yes, no, that I'm glad you called that out. And that was really, the adjustment made the most sense there because there were a couple positions. When Mike had mentioned his budget message about the services, I forget, how did you, sorry, I don't want to say it wrong,
Yeah,
but
we reduced
enrollment.
staffing to accommodate or adjust to the decrease in student enrollment.
yes, so that line, and I think some people might have thought, well, you guys, maybe they made cuts, but we didn't make cuts. No one got a cut this year. However, we are through attrition not filling a few spots because of class sizes and whatnot. So between making the adjustment on that account not being necessarily to the exact amount that should be budgeted, as well as attrition, that made the most sense to cut from there and roll the costs that we need to absorb into ESSER into the ESSER grant funding. So a lot of back end accounting stuff. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it did.
I have one quick question, and it was from a couple of slides ago, where like our contingency fund is going from 8 to 7. So
Yes.
the year before, did we hold steady at 8 or did we go from 9 to 8? Just curious.
We were at 8 last year and we were
Okay.
at 7 the year before that.
Okay.
And keep in mind that is what we budgeted. The last 2 years we have come in over budget
Okay.
because of being really careful about spending. So
Okay. I was just curious. I just wanted to know what the history was. Thank you.
yeah. So in summary, we are $148,000 less of what we're asking for in the 23-24 general fund budget than 22-23. And how that all penciled and rolls forward. Hopefully that makes sense in my summary of where we cut and where we absorbed.
Chanel, I'm sorry, going back to the elementary school, do you recall on that attrition piece, how many teaching positions are not being refilled?
If we look back to 1920, 2021, I think they are 3.0 less than what the budget was built on.
Got
What
it.
was actually there though, I think right now they're only down 1. They've gone many years with 2, I think, unfilled positions, although the budget's built for they could hire more. It's also where then we've led to this extra ending fund balance for the last couple of years that was over what we budgeted. And it was from things like that. So
Great. Thank you. That helps me a lot to understand that. Thanks.
yeah. So moving past general fund and on to special revenue, 200 funds. That of course makes up all of these accounts here in bold. A few things that I wanted to call out were general fund supports through interfund transfers. This next, and I should say not every year, does change based off need. And so like this year we did not transfer to nutrition services because they ended last year to be self-sustainable. We didn't need to contribute. But next year with our new program that we've brought in, we will need to transfer some general fund dollars. So we were able to keep the same amount for transfers at $640,000 total. But this year we're going to divide it up between 4 accounts, which will be facilities, nutrition services, vehicle replacement, and student activity funds, also known as Fund 275. So you can see under each one for facilities, 23-24, we're proposing $150,000 transfer, whereas last year it was $200,000. But with bond and everything else, it made sense that we can, it just made sense. So don't want to get into bond talk. Nutrition services, we're going to transfer 60,000. Vehicle replacement is a very healthy account. So we are going to go from last year being $130,000 transfer to 100,000. And then student activity fund, we did need to increase because that is mostly made up of, again, payroll and payroll cost. And so with COLAs and steps, we needed to account for that. So we raised that from 310 to 330,000. Any questions about grants or any other 200 funds? Okay, moving on to debt service. Our debt service for 23-24 for our outstanding obligation bonds is the $1,664,353. That is the lot after that year we will have 3 more years and these go bonds will be paid off. And then for our PERS debt, which of course that comes on an assessment with payroll, but next year's total is the $468,970. And that brings us to our summary here of all funds and the allotment that we are asking for. You guys have all been so quiet. Anybody have questions? Anything you want to know?
There, I do have a few questions, but I want you to go ahead and get to where you want to.
I'm where I want to be. I'm on my
Okay, cool.
last
Looks like,
line.
I think
So-
she's there.
All right, cool. These are down in the weed questions, just when I'm looking at the budget. I noticed when, that in the middle school, it's CMS art. And at the high school, it's CHS art and music. I couldn't figure out where the music component for the middle school is. Is that in the art program?
No, the music budget is all slated at the high school. Her supply accounts are all one since the teacher is split between the two schools. We just, that's historically how it's always been.
Uh-huh.
And so they preferred to keep it that way unless maybe in the future, if it was different teachers or if we had a, one at each school, then I would of course ask and offer to them to split it so they each had their own budget to work with.
Got it.
But
Okay, I'll go back and look at that. I got confused on that. Some other questions.
What's in the vehicle replacement budget? Is that like one bus?
we are set so that because we are on we have 3 buses currently that we make payments on.
Mhm.
Let me actually, I have the file right here. So let me see here. So we have 2 buses financed because we bought them at the same time, so they're with the same group. And we have
Okay.
2 more years of payments on those, and those are paid off. And then we have 1 bus that has 1 year left. Next year is the last payment on that.
Nice.
So of the total, we have outstanding, let's see, 100, we have about $120,000 due on these 3 buses. And then then we have no outstanding debt. But of course we are on a vehicle replacement plan. And
Mhm.
so we have, there are 3 buses that we have to scrap by 2025, I believe. Don't quote me, that's Sarah's field, but we did meet. And I think
Gotcha.
she just told me that.
Mhm.
So we have a plan to replace those, which then we'll kind of keep on the same thing we've been going with the payments.
Awesome.
Because they seem to be the most efficient and yeah. But in our fund, we have, let's see, 23, 24. We should end, I think, with $150,000 in there. And so with each year of keeping, 100,000 or so coming in, it keeps us in a place where we are always able to go finance. And if for some reason finance wasn't the best option, interest rates have gone up, so that could change the game a little.
True.
Then maybe we would want to look at paying cash. But having the
Okay.
account that we have, we actually would be able to do that.
Awesome.
Currently, buses are going for about 200,000, is what Sarah
Okay.
just told me. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
of course.
Since we're on buses, I noticed that historically it's been about $4,000 for repair and maintenance, and this year you've got 25,000. I was curious of what caused that jump. Do you know?
I wish Sarah was here so she could
That's
tell me a
okay.
little more. But
That's pretty pedantic.
it was partly to try to meet in the middle because we definitely went way over that budget this year in repairs and maintenance.
Got it.
We had all buses go through like a certification with ODE, and we had a few buses that needed a lot of work. We had a bus that we had to replace a motor this year, and I guess it's been years since we've had to do that, and that was a very large bill. So, and we had one other that needed some body work after the ODE inspection. It's really, I guess, a bummer because there wasn't a lot wrong with it, but if it doesn't pass ODE inspection, it can't be on the road. So it was also a large bill. So in knowing that, hopefully that was the bulk of the work this year, but there's always these unknown things. And so to be more realistic with a number, we wanted to budget a little higher.
Cool.
So-
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any more questions for Mike or Chanel?
I'm forgetting what the PERS bonds were for. Is that the unfunded balance with PERS? Is that what that was? That was the.
I believe you are correct. And we have, I think, let me pull up my page real quick.
Didn't we pay off that PERS debt with those bonds, and now we're paying off the bonds because it was lower interest than the than leaving it out there.
Yeah, sorry, hold on one second. I want to pull up a page in the budget doc. So if you're looking at page number page 144, shows the 2007 pooled pension bond. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 years left to pay it off.
Answers my question. Thank you.
No further questions. Any comments?
Well organized as always, and that is much appreciated.
Yes, no, super appreciate how well versed you are in all of the things.
Thank you.
And I have to say, over the years, this budget book this year really was the easiest for me to read. I'm not sure what magic you did, but I was actually able to go through it and understand it kind of from top to bottom. And so I like the format. For some reason, much easier for me to track it and follow it all the way through. So thank you.
You are welcome. I do have to, well, Tim pointed it out, although I did already know, and I meant to tell you guys this in the beginning because you're probably like, what? I don't know if you all understood why you got the second copy, but there was a glitch in our e-finance system. So your first copy had printed prior year numbers as all zeros, and I couldn't do anything to fix it. So it was a ticket process, and they had to reach out to Power School, to their, higher ups, and try to figure out how to upload our numbers in there. So they were able to do it. As of this morning, I could reprint it, but then I had to use Adobe and rearrange all 175 pages. So took a little while, but you guys got the new copy, and that is why you got a new copy. So you could have previous year numbers to compare to.
Marilyn, I don't have an approval form to read if that was necessary, which I think it is.
Isn't it in
I-
board?
I didn't find it.
Oh, it's in the budget document.
It is in the
I
budget
sent it
document?
out. Yes, and I sent it out separately. Correction, Al?
Yeah, you had a copy to send, Lon, so
Yes, and I did. I sent it out to everyone. So if you didn't get it, I'm sorry, but I did.
No.
But
It
Lon,
looks like
I'll
it-
share the screen, Lon, and put it on here for you.
Would you? That'd be great. Oh yeah, I literally just opened up that note that she sent and I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So do I have a motion to approve the 2023 proposed budget for consideration by the Creswell School Board?
I move to approve the 2023-2024 Creswell School District proposed budget.
Been
I'll
moved
second.
I second.
and seconded by Mike. All those in favor? I will read the motion, okay? Actually,
Oh, Lon?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I didn't hear a second. Who seconded?
second was Mike.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I move that the 2023-2024 Creswell School District proposed budget be approved as follows. General Fund, $16,709,132. Debt service, $2,248,323. Special revenue grants, $7,331,926. Facilities, $1,087,500. Nutrition services, $739,500. Vehicle replacement, $246,500. Student activity, $404,475. Student body, $393,100. Scholarships, $45,200. For the total of all funds, $29,205,656. I further move that the permanent tax rate of $4.6426 per $1,000 of assessed value be assessed in support of the general fund. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
And raise your hand just so that we can get an actual count, okay? And that's, seems to be everybody. I believe that will conclude our budget committee meeting and fulfill the agenda, and this will then be presented to the board at their next meeting, which is when?
Our next board meeting is on June 14th. So that's our regular school board meeting, so it'll come to the board on the 14th.
Okay.
Because we will
and-
not have we don't need to have any additional budget committee meetings because we got everything wrapped up tonight.
So the community can comment on tonight's meeting prior to that in writing or be present at that presentation to the board. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It's actually a
It
hearing.
looks like there's a public hearing at
Yep.
5:30 on the
Thank you.
14th for the budget committee or for
Yeah.
the budget, and then the actual board meeting starts at 6.
Okay. And what time was it again? Sorry, the board.
5:30. It was 5:30 for the public hearing for the budget, and then the board meeting is at 6 o'clock.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody have any
Can we-
questions, comments? Yes.
Sorry, can we clarify? I think public, just in case people watch this and want to make
Yes.
public comments. The policy is that they have to request to make public comment by a certain time before the meeting, even in person, right? Because it has to be fair between people who want to make online comments or, and Joel, am I remembering this
Yes,
correctly?
yeah, you are remembering that correctly. Yes. Yeah.
Do we remember the time? I think I'm the one that made a big deal about the time, so I should remember what it was, but is it
It's-
2 or 3?
It's
Three.
either, yeah,
It's
3
3
o'clock,
o'clock,
3
Okay.
3
PM.
o'clock.
Thank you.
You bet.
Great. Thanks, Candace, for clarifying that. I think the public definitely needs to know that, so I appreciate it. Any other further comments, questions? Again, my congratulations on an unbelievable job of presenting the needs of the Creswell School District to the community so that the PAC could encourage people to vote for it and be successful in that vote by almost 71%. Actually unheard of, 20-year historic perspective. It's never been anything like that. So the PAC definitely was effective, but it wouldn't have done anything had it not been for I'm sure hundreds of hours on Mike's part. So thank you very much for all of the work of gathering the data, presenting it in a fair but concise way. That was marvelous. Chanel and Mike and Marilyn, thank you very much. Well, and Joel, for putting this budget together for us and making it easy to understand this evening. And with that, we'll say good night.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Good
Good job,
night.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great job.